This is Ryan E. Louie, and this is the Digg series. This is episode number 6, and we have a real treat here tonight. What it is about, I have an ex-student of mine that when I moved to Cleveland Heights, he was one of my first students and that I had, and really, it's going to be great to interview him and to find out what he's been doing. We'll talk about what it was like to study back then when he was back in high school, and he's far out of high school now, and he's an adult and everything like that. And so we're going to get to it. So this is James Muschler. Did I slaughter it?
Oh no, that was perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to ask him about his experiences. We've kept up over all this time, and so everybody say hi to James.
Hey everybody.
Awesome.
Yeah, Ryan you were my first teacher also.
Oh man, that's so kind. It is great, and that years later. How many years has it been since you started? Gosh.
I think I was 16 when I started with you, and now I'm 35.
35.
So that's 19 years.
19 years, man. And so it is so great. He's actually come into the studio here and gave a clinic years ago. It was pre-pandemic, and he was touring with a group called Moon Hooch. We'll talk about it. We'll get into that. But so I'm just gonna ask him some questions about what it was like growing up and studying. And so James, when we were at Cleveland Heights, can you talk about real quick, like when you were 16 and what you were doing, if you can remember? I mean, I hope we remember back when we were 16, but like what were some of the things that you were doing, like as a student, as a 16-year-old, a high school student? What were some of the things you were doing?
Well, I had a ska band at the time that we had when I started studying with you. We were called the Scatastrophes, and as far as music, that was like like the funnest thing that I was that I had kind of discovered around that time, was playing drums in a band.
Yeah. Hey, did I get you in drumline? What did you play in drumline?
First year I was quads, and then I was snare after that.
Yeah, nice. So some of the beginnings that we of when we were studying together, it was a little bit drumline oriented, wasn't it? Working on
for sure,
working on drumline chops. And then like I noticed that when you wanted to take lessons, private lessons, you wanted to then kind of cross over into more of a jazz kind of, back in that day, to play in the high school jazz band. Does that sound
totally
familiar?
Yeah. I really wanted to join the jazz ensemble, but there's only one drummer, so I had to make the audition.
Yeah. So what were some of the things that, if you can remember, like what were some of the experiences of like playing at Cleveland Heights, with Brett Baker, who I just had lunch with yesterday. He's a great guy, man. It was so nice to see him again. And he also, like, I said that you were in town. He goes, well, make sure you say hi to James, because, he's just, he's such a great band director and such a great guy.
Yeah, he really is.
What was it like to play in high school? Like, if you remember from 16 and, doing drumline stuff and making that crossover into jazz, what were some of those things that, if you can remember what you were going through and doing?
Well, luckily, like the rhythm section at the time was really, really good. It was Ben Bloom, who's naturally just an amazing upright bass player, and Jacob Bergson, who's now the keyboard player in Nerve with Jojo Mayer and John Davis.
Amazing.
And great. Yeah, he's also a great studio engineer.
Are you still close with those guys?
Oh yeah. Jacob lives in Burlington now, so we talk on the phone every now and then.
And Burlington's where?
Oh, Berlin.
Oh, Berlin.
Yeah.
Berlin. Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And so what else?
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't answer the question.
No, you're all good, man. You're all good.
What was the question?
Dig it. So what were some of your experiences like, from making that crossover into drumline and playing tenors and snare And then how did that help you into transforming into getting into the high school jazz band, and what was the high school jazz band like to you? So just to kind of overview of it.
Well, the experience, of being in a drum line, having to have that precision and the awareness of the time, and to know when you're playing, in your mind, know that you're playing a quarter note or an eighth note or a triplet or whatever it might be. So that made the transition into jazz a lot easier, because when we started with the jazz, we were doing like bebop vocabulary, and you turned me on to John Riley's The Art of Bop Drumming.
Nice.
And the Jim Chapin book.
Absolutely.
And it was wonderful that you I mean, the stuff you taught me without those books was like so valuable.
Oh, right on, man. Right on.
But when it comes to like the reading and like the awareness of like the eighth notes and the quarter notes and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We were just up at the shop here, and all the guys. I said, my ex-student's coming, he's James, which man, he's like this incredible drummer. He's like way better of a drum set player than I am. So when we got into the shop, all the guys asked you, so are you really better? Are you really better than Louie? But I was just telling a friend this, that, your answer's like so just honest and dead on, are you a better drum set player than I am?
No, I think we have our specialties for sure.
Yeah, man. And I bring up the question only because it's like, it's always about who's the best and who can do the most, and really it never comes up to that, does it? Because is there a best in your book? Is there a best? Does the best exist?
It's hard to find a best. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really comes down to a feeling with the drums. I think most people would agree with that opinion, that like the best drummer feels really good when you hear them play, even if they're not using a lot of chops or whatever,
Right.
So musical.
So do you remember like what kind of tunes you played in the jazz ensemble there at Cleveland? Do you remember anything that sticks out to you that just thought it was really, really cool?
Yeah, there was Macho and Nacho. That's not it. You know what I'm talking about? Oh, Huevos Huevos.
Yeah, Gordon Goodwin chart.
Gordon Goodwin.
Yeah. And what kind of beat were you playing on that?
Was that a Mozambique?
A Mozambique or a salsa?
Salsa.
Yeah, salsa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the salsa? I mean, it's so long ago, man. Is it like it was 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, do you remember what your left foot was doing?
I think it was on 2 and 4.
Was it 2 and 4?
Yeah.
What was your bass drum playing?
And a 2 and 4.
Yeah. Do you remember what that was called in a way? It was like the tumbao, right? The tumbao.
Yeah, tumbao.
Yeah,
right.
man. One hand was playing an Afro-Cuban rhythm.
Cascara.
The cascara, right, for sure, right? And then you were popping in a bongo bell pattern, I would assume, right? Some of my students, my advanced students, that is for sure. That's kind of the path. You remember, because I think I started out on a bossa nova, and then we went to the late in the evening beat. Remember the Steve Gadd, the Paul Simon tune. We learned the Mozambique, right? We did the Mozambique, and then we went to putting it with samba feet, the whole thing. I think one thing that really, really impressed me about James as he was growing up was that the way that he turned into like a really incredible, not a and a performer, that's in and of itself, but like your approach to practicing was like just amazing. And did you practice a lot when you were in high school?
Yeah. Well, the summer before, I auditioned for the jazz ensemble, so I had that whole summer to practice, and I basically devoted most of my time to to shedding jazz drums.
Yeah, I mean, like, is that like a half hour a day, or is it a little more? What do you think?
Oh, it's like 6 to 8 hours a day.
6 to 8 hours a day. I remember James, he was telling me a story, like, he would put on the metronome, and he just played a single groove, and not a complex groove, but it was about, you could see you were trying to test yourself, or, how long you could actually play the groove and not let it break and swerve away from the from the med.
That's a whole other practice.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
for sure, and but what other experiences did you have in high school? Did you play outside of Cleveland Heights?
Well, there was the Cleveland Jazz Project, which was all Cleveland Heights jazz musicians. And that was Jacob Bergson on piano, Ben Bloom on bass, and Nathan Davis on saxophone, who is now just a killing saxophone player.
Right.
And other than that, I left the ska band.
Yeah.
Which I kind of regret doing now, because they were such good buddies. But I guess I just, at the time, I felt the pressure to utilize my time in a way that would make it possible to play drums for a career.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you know by the time you were a senior that is something that you wanted to pursue, and that when did you kind of make
17.
that transition? Was it right at 17, or did you kind of know, like?
It was a night at this club called Nighttown.
Right on.
And that was the first time I saw Eric Harland, who I'd studied with for a few lessons years after that. But leaving that concert with Eric Harland on drums, Aaron Goldberg on piano, I think it was Ruben Rogers on bass.
Nice.
It was just so magical.
Yeah.
And
right.
I was just speechless after that show. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Nice. So then
it was in that moment that I was like,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
And for us drummers, if you don't know who Eric Harland is, then you should look him up, because he is, is he still with San Francisco Collective?
I don't know. I haven't heard San Francisco Collective in a while.
Yeah, and
but I know he's still performing a lot. I forget. Someone brought him up recently that he was playing some like ridiculous drum solo.
Yeah, right on. So then, as a lot of that are listening to the podcast, when we're studying it, you want to go into music. When we talk about the audition process, coming out of high school, going into the audition process, do you remember the colleges that you auditioned for?
And I auditioned for DePaul, Eastman School of Music, Juilliard, Manhattan School of Music, DePaul, University of Cincinnati. Maybe I mentioned that already.
Yeah, you're good.
But the only school I got into, I got accepted to University of Cincinnati, and the new school.
Right.
And
well, you got accepted to DePaul, didn't you?
I forget.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did, if I remember right. Even though my memory could be my memory too, but I think that the long list of auditions, But then you chose to go to the new school. What is the new school? Where is the new school?
It's in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, New York. So I mean, I'm sure University of Cincinnati is great. I mean, I had a really great time there at the audition, and they were going to give me a full ride. But luckily my parents were, able to afford to, pay for me at the new school. And I had a little bit of a, what's it called? Scholarship.
Scholarship, yeah.
But,
so you made that transition, you decided to go to the new school. And so could you share some of the experiences at the new school? Who'd you study with?
Oh, some great teachers at the new school. Reggie Workman, who's still there, played with John Coltrane. Richard Bucas, great guitar player. I was in the Brazilian ensemble and the Choro ensemble with him for many semesters. Nice. Amir Ziv, he's like the like the sole drum faculty. Like he teaches the drum reading class, and he teaches the drum and bass ensemble, and yeah, he was great. He was great for like getting chops together and stuff, and so many. Well, New School actually has this this thing where if you place out of proficiency, then you can study with whoever you want.
Right.
So I was in proficiency for my first semester. So I studied with Amir Ziv. And when I placed out of proficiency, I started studying with Dan Weiss. And I didn't know about Dan Weiss until, 2 months before
Right.
that. But I saw him at the 55 bar, and I was just totally blown away by how, like, deep everything, like every choice that he made was so, it was like you could explain it, or it was like, but it was so expressive, like in a John Coltrane kind of way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So through the New School, then you got in this group, right? All those guys came from the New School, right? What the group was called Moon Hooch, right?
Moon Hooch, yeah.
Yeah, Moon Hooch was. Is it like were you folks one of the first of the correct me if I'm mistaken, like some of the Subway bands that came out, or
Yeah. Well, it was us and Too Many Zoos. We were playing down in the subways all the time at the same time, and we both kind of blew up from this like underground following.
Right. So Moon Hooch consists of what kind of instrumentation?
It was me on drums, Wenzel McGowan on tenor saxophone and baritone saxophone, and then Mike Wilbur on tenor saxophone and later voice and synthesizer.
Cool.
And then their drummer now, I forget his name.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what happened with that band? What did you end up doing with the band?
Well, the way that it started was really interesting. So Wenzel, who's a really good buddy of mine, I saw him recently.
Nice.
Nice. He left school because he's like going to jazz school. If you don't have the advantage of having someone paying for that education,
Right.
when you graduate, all of a sudden you're a jazz musician,
Right.
with like $120,000.
Yeah. Student loans.
loan.
Man. Yeah. Right.
So he saw that coming. So he dropped out and went to go play professionally saxophone and clarinet on this cruise ship for 6 months.
Right on.
And while he was there, he met this DJ who showed him Ableton, taught him about production,
Yeah.
and got him into house music. So before he left for the cruise, we were playing jazz on the streets, just busking
Yeah.
around the school, like Union Square, Washington Square. But then when he came back, he was like, try playing a house beat. And he had taught me what a house beat was, which is, 4 on the floor.
Yeah.
And then the snare drum can kind of be anywhere, but it's
Right.
like, upbeats on the hi-hat.
Yeah. Right.
So snare could be on 2 and 4,
Yeah.
or it could be like
Nice.
just loop based.
Yeah. Right. So
And-
then, what happened to the band after once you kind of got out of the subways and he was back off of his cruise ship gig and stuff?
Well, we started playing, and the way that the band formed actually was me and Wenzel were playing house music on one side of the Washington Square Arch,
Yeah.
and Mike Wilbur with the saxophone and our good buddy Max Jaffe was there.
Right.
So it was 2 saxophones, 2 drummers, and we were facing each other from opposite sides of the Washington Square Arch.
Nice.
And it was the first time that we were playing where people were like really getting into it and dancing, and we started getting a lot more tips that way. With
Nice.
jazz, it wasn't really making that much, but it was spiritually fulfilling to be out there playing music. And at the time, I actually really didn't appreciate house music like I do now.
Yeah.
I just
yeah.
like wasn't my thing.
Right. Right. So if I could, so with the band, it went on tour. How long were you on the road? How long were you on tour?
Basically for like 10 years, or to be more accurate, more like 8 years, because we were in the subway and doing like New York shows on rooftops and stuff. And then one day, Mike Doty left a note in our tip jar, which was the giant bass drum case that we carried the bass drum in,
Right.
saying, or no, this is what happened. He took our business card, which had our email address on it, and he wrote us asking us if we wanted to go on tour with him, and we were like, what?
Nice.
So,
Nice.
okay. So we went on this month-long tour where we followed. They had a bus tour, so they had a bus driver, and they drove through the night from city to city. So it's like,
Right.
they'd be like Denver, Salt Lake City, then like the next day would be like in San Francisco or something, like
Right.
super long drives.
For sure.
And yeah, that was a really crazy first tour.
Nice.
I lost a tooth pretty much because,
Oh yeah.
well, all the, like having that new routine of like you just like get up and you start driving to the show, hoping you get there on time. You set up your gear, show starts, you like pack up everything, you get in the van, you go to the hotel, you sleep,
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, I didn't take like oral hygiene as seriously as it did when I was just stationary,
Sure.
So,
Sure.
so like a month after that tour, I was like noticing this gap forming, like with my tongue. I was just kind of like, I was like, oh, I guess I have a gap forming.
Wow.
But then the next time I went to a dentist, they were like, yeah, your tooth is rotting away.
Oh no.
So I have a root canal right here.
Well, message: make sure you brush your teeth
Brush your
there,
teeth.
boys. Man, right? So was it a great experience? I mean, like, if you can remember back on some of the experiences on the road, all over. What's the farthest way that you traveled when you were on tour with Moon Hooch?
The farthest way?
Yeah, I mean, like the greatest distance that you had to travel to go play.
Oh, that's hard to answer.
Yeah.
But what comes to mind is the farthest we had to drive
Oh yeah.
to at the end of a tour, because I had a plane to catch in New York, and we were in San Diego.
Oh.
And it was just me solely driving from San Diego to Denver. That was the first day. Denver to Omaha, Nebraska. That was the second day. And then Omaha to Cleveland. That was the third day.
Yeah.
So I was just driving 14 to 15 hours a day.
Wow. You know what? I remember catching you on this variety show that was in Europe. Was it in England?
Oh yeah,
In London?
Jules Holland.
Yeah, Jules Holland. I mean, I saw your band play, and you guys just tore it up. Was that what kind of experience was playing on a variety? Is it a variety show? What is it?
Oh, that was really cool. Well, Tame Impala was there,
Yeah.
and I was a fan of them. Still a fan of them. So it was really cool to meet them and hear them play. James Blake was there.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And it was super fun.
Yeah. Was it stressful? Was it like?
It was a little stressful because like at that point in our career, we were like, this was like the biggest thing that we were doing. So like if we messed it up, like,
yeah,
you get that feeling like, oh well, like if we had only like killed that performance, maybe we'd
Well, I was
be
just
a little more successful or whatever.
Yeah, man, I just remember watching. I was going, holy crap, man, these guys sound great. And, I think that if I remember the show right, there's probably like 6 bands that were all there from all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. And, I mean, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, it's James, and it's so cool, watch it. And you were tearing it up, man. And so, I just think that, those would have to be incredible experiences that you could look back onto and say, hey, you know what, that was pretty cool. That music took me over, across the sea into the UK.
Yeah.
to play. Did you tour anywhere else in Europe, or did you?
Yeah, we toured a lot in Norway and France and the UK.
UK.
Yeah.
Oh, that's killer.
But we also went to like Serbia and we went to Prague. We went to Italy a couple times, Spain, Portugal.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, Europe's great, and Norway is awesome. It's like I love Norway.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful place.
There was this one festival we played in Norway called Vinja Rock,
Yeah.
and it was up like past halfway from Oslo to Vadsø, which is like the northmost city. And it's this area of just like fjords and mountains, and it's all open space, and it was like
Killer.
so beautiful. And you just go over the mountain, and then you don't see the festival. You can't even hear it.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of walk. It was this really sort of surreal experience playing there.
Nice.
And it was summertime, so it was like 21 hours of daylight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. So after leaving Moon Hooch, you now live where?
Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. So what do you do out there now?
I teach a lot. Teach piano and drums. I was working on... I'm working on a couple projects. One of them is no longer a project because one of the key members left.
Right.
And the other one is called Jane's Comet. And Jane's been busy like doing her own music. So we're kind of taking a hiatus right now. So
Nice.
it still exists.
Right? Yeah. Where can we? So now you're transitioning. Not only are you an educator and a teacher, and you're supplying. What else are you? I mean, are you mentioned something about becoming more of a content creator?
Yeah. So Instagram is the platform that I've been using, and I really like Instagram, but I want to branch out into TikTok and YouTube as well. Because it's just, it's the most efficient way to inspire, not just the musical community, but anyone, and I would like to use that for that purpose. And also to grow my brand and, create opportunity for me. And students too. So I want to use Instagram to get more drumming students.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a real treat to have you out here, James. And
It's so great to see you again.
Nice, man. You're always welcome out here in the studio. And just on a side note, James, you just got engaged?
I sure did.
Yeah, man. And just last night. And so, I look forward to, of course, meeting your fiance and everything, and of course wish you folks the best of luck, and hopefully I'll be in town and be able to head out to the
love
wedding.
it if you were at the wedding.
Oh yeah, man, of course I'll be there.
It's going to be September 1st, Cleveland Heights.
Nice. Excellent. Hey, you know what? I actually did not do a shout out to any students, and so you know what though. I'm going to do this again, and this is kind of like a real different kind of shout out. But this is going out to my son, my oldest. We flew him out to San Diego 2 days ago, and now he is driving cross country from San Diego to Chicago. So I just called him this evening. They're somewhere in Arizona. But a shout out goes to Hudson, Aiden, and Tito. Safe travels back to Chicago. Of course, hopefully I'll talk to you before then. But you can always find these podcasts, these episodes, on my YouTube site, which is RYUN, Ryan Louie, Louie. Please subscribe. Also, it'll be on my website, which is RyanLou, RYUNLOU.com. You know what? We were at the shop, and all you know what I'm talking about the shop is. And some guy, he said that I can get onto Spotify through this other way. So hopefully within the next couple of times, you'll find these episodes also up on Spotify. And so thanks for listening, and we will catch you later. Truth. Oh, thanks, James, man. It's always a pleasure, man. And,
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, right, man. We'll catch you when you get back. All right, man. Bye, everybody.